What is up, everybody? My name is Joey, and I am a former student and graduate of Easy CDL. And I promised I'd go ahead and start doing some videos to help out. And because I wanted to give some information to new drivers, I've watched a ton of videos on YouTube. There's a ton of guys that are out there. So if you're already a licensed driver, then I'm probably not the video guy for you. But if you're somebody who's either just getting started into looking at getting your commercial driver's license, is trying to decide what you want to do, whether or not being a truck driver is for you, then hopefully I can help you out. And at the end of the video, you give me a nice little like. And if you'll consider subscribing to the channel, that'll be awesome too. If not, no worries, and always feel free to comment down below. And I try to read all the comments. I will try to read all the comments and reply to as many as possible. So, except for the trolls, deal with it. So, you know, if you're a seasoned CDL, so if you've been driving for a long time, some of the things I'm going to say are probably going to annoy you, probably going to disagree with them. Fine, go ahead and put it down below. Not a big deal. I'm not really focusing on you. I'm focusing on new drivers or people that are thinking about becoming a driver. So to that end, this video we're going to talk about, do you have what it takes to be a truck driver, or should you become a truck driver, and how to get your CDL. So for me, just to give you a little background on me, I was a printer for over 2 decades, and I became a marketer just as a part of that, and went to school for marketing. So, you know, always been a marketer, always been a research junkie, and I was pursuing a career at Apple. And while I was pursuing my career at Apple, one of my friends called me up about something that I had invented a long time ago, like when the internet was still, you know, AOL dial-up, right? Was like the majority for everybody. And so I had invented something, and I pretty much forgot about it. It did pretty good. I actually aced my presentation, so I was pretty happy about that, but did nothing with it because prototyping back then was a lot more money than somebody who was living on top ramen and instant mashed potatoes could afford. So, and forgive the shakes on the camera, guys. I'll try to do some stabilizing in videos in the future, but some of these roads out here just don't like me. So, right now I'm driving in Wyoming, and Little America's either coming up next, or yeah, it's right around here. So, anyway, so I was pursuing a career at Apple, and a friend came up and said, hey, you know, did you ever do anything with this? And I was like, no, I didn't. You know, I'm actually pretty happy where life is. And I, of course, thought about it and started crunching some numbers on it and realized, holy crud, yeah, I got to do this thing, you know? I've been working for other people long enough and doing things for other people long enough that it's time for me to start pursuing this myself. And so I stopped pursuing my job, my career path. My wife was working there, so we were good there. And I had sat there and I was like, okay, but what am I going to do in the meantime? Because as with any project, I knew this was going to take, you know, a couple of years to make happen. So I had a friend that approached me and said, hey, have you thought about being a truck driver? And I'm like, look, man, I got to make $7,000, $8,000 a month minimum just to be able to support my family and to pursue this thing in any kind of timeline, unless I want to go take on investors and give away a big chunk of the company that I really don't want to give away. And he's like, bro, I make almost 10 grand a month. And I was like, okay. So I went and I looked it up and did the research and did a little bit more research and realized, wow, I can make more than that, I think. So I began the path to get my driver's license, and it took me about 6 months total. But that's because I'm a little bit different. I wanted to perfect my book. I got my CDL handbook, and I got actually 3 of them. One to keep whole, one I broke apart in sections so I could break it down in sections and memorize each section as I needed it. And then the 3rd one I cut apart like crazy. I actually could have got 4 so I could have done both sides, but I was prioritizing what was most important for me to learn that looked like it was the most important parts and would probably end up being on the tests. And so I went through and made a bunch of flashcards, pasted those onto some flashcards, went through with my family, my daughters and my wife, and, you know, took my permits, and I got all of my permits, took all my tests, and I didn't miss a single question. And for the record, if you go to Mac Road in Sacramento to take your CDL test, and you are not missing anything on your tests, they'll come out and check if you're cheating. I got checked twice to make sure I wasn't cheating, so I actually take that as a compliment. I missed nothing. And then while I was getting my permit, went looking around for schools, and I looked everywhere. I went to Prime, CRST, CR England, and those are, Werner, the different schools, and some of those are schools and some of those are mills. So I was like, okay, and then I went and I went and checked all the schools that were local, and I ended up going to Easy CDL. They had unlimited training for $2,000, and I had never stepped foot in a truck before, and I was like, you know what, I can get $2,000 together, and so that's what I did. But you have to count the cost before you become a truck driver and really decide if this is the career for you. Truck driving is not a joke. You may think, oh, well, I like to drive. But this is a different animal. You have to multitask. You have to be able to multitask. If you can't multitask well, you shouldn't be a truck driver. And I mean well. Like, if you're like, I'm going to watch a movie while I'm cooking dinner and doing laundry, and more than one occasion, you've sauteed your shirt because you went out of order, don't become a commercial driver, okay? If you can't stay focused while having situational awareness of everything that's going on around you, don't become a truck driver. You can't, okay? If you have a hard time focusing on one thing and doing that one thing repeatedly and doing it the best that you can, don't become a truck driver. Seriously. If you have those abilities, now just so you know, with me, I'm married. I've been married for over 15 years. I've got 2 daughters, 7 and 9. One's about to be 8. So obviously the 7-year-old's about to be 8, not the 9-year-old. I had to count the cost to be a truck driver. There are guys that get their licenses and realize, wow, this is not for me. If you have a certain amount of money that you need to make, then you need to be as open as possible. I got my hazmat, my doubles, my triples, my tankers, endorsements. I got all of those because I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to make the money. My wife and I talked about it. I'm like, baby, I'm going to be gone, 2, 3, sometimes a month at a time. And so you're going to be here with the girls. We'll get a nanny and we'll get that taken care of. But I got to be out there. And she's like, I agree. And so, we were good and we supported each other, and that was a really hard cost to count, but I had to do it. So you need to decide that, and you need to decide where your money balance is going to be, and I'll talk about it in a future video. But if you think you're going to make $10,000 a month driving for a local company that's a main company, dream on. Walmart, FedEx, they're not really paying that. So I think the last ad I saw for Walmart said that you can make up to $85,000 a year, which means that somebody in the company is making $85,000 and they have thousands of drivers. So odds are you're not going to be there. But if you're just going to, hey, I just want to do this, I need a local, then cool. If you're over 30 and you don't know where you want to be, then yeah, consider being a truck driver. You're out here on the road, and like for me, I'm what's called a semi-dedicated, meaning that my starts and my stops aren't necessarily in the same place, but a majority of my run is on Highway 80. So if you get out there and you get on 80, and you're in a TA, you might actually see me out there. Cool, say hi. But to be a truck driver, you have to be dedicated. You have to be self-motivated. You have to be self-disciplined. If you're not disciplined, you can't be a truck driver. If you can't get up in the morning, like for me, I get up at 4:30 in the 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 if I'm sleeping in, and I go and I do my pre-trip every single time. I'm in an older truck especially, so my pre-trip is that much more important. I always come back with a list of things that need to be done on my truck, and my boss appreciates that, believe it or not, because my boss has said it and I get it. With any truck, it's either parts or payments. I'm in a 2008 Volvo, so, I'm in a 10-year-old truck, and I'm running right now 860,000 miles on this truck. So there's always something that needs to be worked on, replaced, or repaired on this truck or maintained. Every other route I'm out there, I'm doing my oil changes, I'm getting the regular maintenance on there, my fuel filters, checking all my coolants, checking all my warnings. You have to be disciplined, and you have to be self-disciplined. And it's not something that you're like, well, I'll become a truck driver and then I'll be disciplined. It doesn't work that way. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to be able to be a truck driver. I see too many wrecks every single time I'm out on the road, every single trip. I see at least one accident. And sadly, 2 trips ago, coming back through York on 80, where there's a lot of wind and they had a wind and a dust storm, I saw a pile up, and I learned later that 3 drivers died. That 3 people, well, 3 people died. And, you know, it's sad. But no job, no amount of money is worth your life. And more importantly, no amount of money is worth you risking other people's lives. You know, whoever caused that accident killed parents. You know, that's just a sad thing. My wife will be extremely upset at whoever gets me killed out here. I have to pay attention to every single truck when I'm out here. You know, I'm sitting there on a regular basis, looking back and forth, scanning my mirrors. I know what traffic's around me. I know what's ahead of me. I know what's going. You got to be able to do that. You have to be disciplined. You know, keep everything clean around you. I see guys that have garbage in the bottom of their trucks. Bottom of my truck is always clean. You know, and it causes accidents. You have a bunch of crap in the bottom of your truck. All it takes is a water bottle to roll underneath your brake pedal when you need to suddenly stop and you can't engine brake it. And all of a sudden you can't stop because there's a water bottle or some junk underneath your pedal. Congratulations. It's not worth it. But if you're disciplined, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to continually learn, because I learn every day that I'm out. I know guys that have been doing this for 10 years that are still learning every day. I was at one of the TAs, and they have those the islands on either side of the pumps to protect the pumps, but you also can step up on them so you can clean off your windshield. And I stepped up on it, and I'm cleaning off my windshield, and this lady looks at me, and she's been driving for like 5 years, and she goes, I never thought of that. She just learned something that day, and I was able to teach her, and I didn't want to say, hey, well, I'm a new driver. Yay, I taught somebody something. You have to be disciplined. If you can't be disciplined, if you don't learn on a regular basis, on a continual basis, don't be a truck driver. You know, the money is good if you let the money be good, if you've worked for the money to be good. I make $160,000 a year right now, and I've only had my license for a couple of months because I did the research, I did the work, and I'll cover that in a later video. But you gotta do that. You know, and whether you are self-taught, whether you learn better alone or with other people, you know, for me it was I learn better with other people when I'm helping other people and teaching other people, or learning from other people and learning from other people's mistakes, which isn't that why we watch YouTube videos, to see when people do something wrong anyways? You know, I'm grateful for Fail Army, because I watch Fail Army videos and go, yeah, I'll never do that, right? And I do that with truckers and other trucking videos. I watch videos and go, really? Yeah, I'll never do that. And those help me avoid those. So I make my own set of mistakes, but I learn from the mistakes of others. So those are kind of things. If I've said all that, none of that scares you, and you want to become a truck driver, then yeah, become a truck driver. My next video will talk about research and what to look for when you're what you look for in schools, and the difference between different schools and mills. And, you know, just so you can get kind of an idea of what you're doing and what you want to do. So hopefully this helps. Again, definitely give a like, give a subscribe, turn on the notification bell if you want to know every time I upload a video or the school uploads a video. I'm going to try to upload these on a very regular basis because a lot of what I do out here in driving, happy to help. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I appreciate all of them. And believe me, I got, you know, several hours that I sit in the truck and I'm on YouTube or, you know, social media. So definitely trying to help out. So anyway, peace out with your peace out. Have a good one. And remember, that which doesn't kill you is coming back with friends. Thanks a lot.